And Newcastle, they didn't even look as if they were going to get a real shot in at all. Almiron, for example, he had so much of the ball, but he didn't do anything with it. Nothing at all. There was no cross that gave anybody a chance of knocking it in. And he and St Maximin, I know St Maximin against Wolves scored a terrific goal. Well done, earned a point for us. But up to that point, he hadn't got a single cross in for all the possession that he had. He was just running into blind alleys, and Almiron does that an awful lot. Late on in the game, I thought Anderson, he did absolutely terrific, and he started to get stuff into the box to give people a chance, and you know, it needs a youngster to show the senior players how to do it properly. Yeah, disappointing, I thought, today. It really was. We need more in the midfield, and I think that Bruno being sidelined is a very sad loss for us at the moment.
Anybody in this bar think that VAR works? No. Put your hand up if you think it does. Exactly. There we go. Good straw poll there about VAR. Yeah. To be honest, Malcolm, that goal today, right? In my mind, having watched it back now numerous times from different angles, Newcastle United should have either had a goal or a penalty. Agree?
Yeah, I totally agree on that. For those of you who haven't seen it, that Willock, he is pushed by the defender who ultimately actually knocked it over the line. But he's pushed by the defender into the goalkeeper, and the referee has gone over, seen all of that, and said no goal, no penalty. And we know that since the takeover, that the powers that be, a lot of the clubs, they're not looking favourably on Newcastle at all. Well, now I am seriously starting to think that that referees are beginning to show their hand and are punishing Newcastle since the takeover. And you know, that nonsense against Liverpool when the goal was scored and they checked it on VAR, they couldn't decide whether the Swede was offside or not. They couldn't decide. Isaac, yes, and so they looked at the shadows, and I was.
And they haven't been around since 1960s.
That's true. and so they looked at the shadows of the two players. Well, I've just been up at St James Park talking with John Beresford. Can you imagine? You've got Beresford like that and Isaac like that. Of course, Isaac's shadow's going to be bloody offside. He's 6'4". For heaven's sake! I've never known anything so stupid. Where is it in the rule book that says you look at shadows? Crazy.
It is crazy. What I'm going to say, has Haaland scored again? Yes, it's inevitable. He'll be away to Real Madrid before he troubles Shearer, don't worry about that. From our perspective though, you know what, Malcolm, I took out of that today was a defensive unit, and let's face it, a lot of people didn't want Howe as manager. As a Newcastle fan, looking at Howe, people were looking at Mourinho, Pochettino. But you know what, Eddie Howe's come in after spending a year with Simone, learning how to defend. by God, we've got a great defensive unit now. We've got players who can slot in, we defend well. We would have lost that game last season under Steve Bruce, and we've got a 0-0. We've got a point. We're building, we're working towards being one of the best teams in the Premier League, and then one of the best teams in Europe. Defensively, Newcastle were great today. From Nick Pope to Matt Target to Sven Botman to Fabian Scher to Kieran Trippier, we defended well, 100%. We've got to take a lot of pride out of that.
We have, yes. I totally agree that, good heavens, we are looking exceedingly tight at the back, and they're doing a great job. But it's when it gets into midfield that there just seems to be that lack of imagination, that lack of seeing the right ball, getting it through to forwards at the right time. We had wide players today, but they weren't really made full use of. And it all got very, very frustrating. But as I said, right at the very beginning, you get a half an hour of a game where you're well on top, like Newcastle were. In the first 30 minutes, Newcastle were well on top of Crystal Palace. They looked a different class side altogether. That's when you must score. You're not going to score later on, you're going to score when you're playing well, when you're on top of the opposition. That's when you get your first goal and even your second goal. But Newcastle failed to do that today, and that for me is worrying, because I don't think that there's much being made from midfield. Certainly we are desperately lacking Bruno. I think that he would make a huge difference in the way that he actually comes late into the box. Willock used to do that when he was on loan. He stopped it. What? Yeah. Willock, he's too deep and not wanting to get forward. For heaven's sake, I really don't understand. That's what made Willock a real favourite with us. That's where he was doing so well, and he stopped doing it. Not good enough for me.
Okay. Got a question. We don't mind taking questions from the floor. I know it's going to be a sensible one.
Malcolm, we missed the score from Midfield. ESM, he's our bit of player. We missed that score today, and we missed it, and so did him.
Well, we missed a spark from a number of players. There was no spark from Almiron. There was none from Willock. Sean Longstaff really didn't look as if he was going to spark anything, and Almiron certainly is lacking on that. When you have a player playing wide, he is there for a reason, and that's to get crosses into the box, and he just fails miserably on that. The number of times that they failed to get the ball beyond the first man, and for me that's a crime in football. You have to beat the first man. You have to get it beyond. And what I'm sorry? They're all right on corners. There's not a problem. Yeah, the corners are coming in, they're fine, but it's crosses that aren't getting in. Crosses aren't getting in at all. They're being cut out too early, and sides like Crystal Palace are actually attacking off of Newcastle crosses. That shouldn't be happening. It really shouldn't. They come out too easily.
As far as you're concerned, Malcolm, you're looking at that today. Is that a 2 points lost game, or is that a point gained?
No, 2 points lost without any shadow of doubt. Newcastle, Crystal Palace didn't earn a point, Newcastle gave it to them. They failed to score, they failed to put the right pressure on Crystal Palace, and even to the point where Crystal Palace had 2 very late chances, really good chances. Thank heavens for Nick Pope, he's in absolutely superb form. And I think we were fortunate in the end to get away with that point. And so, no, it was 2 points lost, not a point gained.
That's fair enough. Man of the match for you today?
Yeah, good question. Now, in all honesty, I think I'm going to go for Nick Pope because he saved the day for us late on. Yeah, with those 2 saves, that he kept the point safe. Thank heavens for him. The back 4 did excellently. No complaints there at all. But the midfield is lacking in imagination. Joe Linton, he was doing all sorts and really working it quite well at times, but he achieved nothing. And none of the other midfield players achieved anything at all. As I say, I thought Anderson, he came in on the left-hand side and he started to look different class. Yeah, he did look good. And I hope that he gets more time in that first team to prove his worth, so that we can all have a good look.
You've had a bit of time to look at Sven Botman. Okay, he's came in, we chased him not 1 transfer window but 2. What's your take on him? And he's rotating the centre halves. He played Lascelles against Liverpool. He's played Botman today alongside Shaw. Fabian Schär seems to be the ever present. What do you make of Botman?
I'm quite happy with him. I think that I think he organises well in there, and he's only pretty young still for a defender. He seems to be enjoying playing with the Swiss lad, and they read each other well. I've got no problems with them whatsoever. I have a slight reservation with regards to Target. He gets done for pace here and there. I'm just saying that he gets done for pace, and I think that what I would be saying is that when he's in a 1-against-1 situation, when the opponent's got the ball, that the Botman or Shah have just got to come across a bit to get him behind, and yeah, he just lacks that bit of key pace, and the Premiership is about pace.
I just want to say as well, me and Malcolm do NUFC Matters on YouTube on a Thursday night with our good friend Gibbo, who does Pumphrey's, which is the sister bar of this every match day as well. And I always stand up for Chris Wood, so I just want to make a public announcement here. When Chris Wood came on today, I did stand up in the ground, Malcolm, and go, "There's only one Chris Wood." Sadly, nobody else stood up and said anything. But I did stand up, so I am a man of my convictions. Newcastle play West Ham next week. There's a good chance that Bruno, ASM and Callum Wilson will be back in the starting lineup or available for selection. How do you see that going?
That's a vital game, and even more vital is that we get those players back. The cream of the squad is not that big, and so with, the manager has had to sort of make it up a little bit, and so we need those players back. And nice to give the manager a bit of a selection headache. I would dearly like to see Isak and Wilson playing together up front. I think that Isak would drop off and he'd play around, but they are different types of forward. Wilson is a finisher through the middle, and Isak, that will free him off to go as he pleases around the front line, moving wide, coming inside. So yeah, we'll see. I think we'll see better movement than we've been able to see today, and certainly I hope that we have a stronger midfield out next week. We need it. There's not enough punch in what we had today.
Don't forget to get your Sam Fender tickets. That's going to be a hell of a gig. Big, I think man of the match apart from for me, Matt Target, was Johnny Blue Hat in his local Euro rendition. You wanted to ask one more question. I don't mind anybody asking questions. Go on, go for it.
Malcolm, I'll drop Longstaff Anderson me like any day of the week.
Okay, Malcolm, would you drop Sean Longstaff for Anderson? I've got to be honest. Sean Longstaff, I was at Wolves and I was at Liverpool. I watched both those games live. Longstaff gives the ball away a lot, but he brings something different to that midfield while John Joe Shelby's away. That ball that he put through for Isak was superb. Isak finished it, of course, with a plumb. Anderson's a different kind of player, but would you drop Sean Longstaff?
Well, I wouldn't, no, because Anderson's a wide player and Sean Longstaff is a central midfield player, and so that doesn't quite work out. And if I were to drop anybody for Anderson, I would drop Almiron. Yeah, because Almiron, for all the ball he gets, he offers so little. Fraser's doing he's doing much better. At least we're getting stuff into the box from Fraser, and it's giving the forwards a chance. I think what we need is Wilson in there more than Isak. Isak, he can come in a bit late. Wilson will always be more of a danger in the static positions just outside the 6-yard box.
I was going to finish it there, but because I'm seeing people saying this and saying that, and you've got Fraser and you've got Almiron, right? In your day, there wasn't social media, there wasn't Sky on your phone to look at the stats, right? It wasn't about stats, it was about who beat who, and who scored how many goals and who conceded how many goals. But a lot of it's down to stats now, percentage rates, etc. But the simple matter is, if we're going to deal in the modern day, Almiron, Jacob Murphy, Ryan Fraser aren't doing it with assists, and they aren't doing it with goals, Malcolm.
No, that's very true. All Longstaff, all Almiron, yes. And that's why I think that they're outside of that strong part of the squad. And that's where the manager now needs to really strengthen and move those players on over the next 2 windows, yes. But there is still much work to do. A lot of work. But we'll get there. We will get there. We've got to be looking for a much higher level of player than a number that we've got in. But it takes time to turn the squad around to what you really want. Absolutely, yeah. It is going to take a fair old while, but we will get there. That's for sure.
As we've just said there, Rome wasn't built in a day. You've got to remember, it's not even a year since the takeover took place. No Steve Bruce, no Mike Ashley, and look at what we've got now. Imagine what it's going to be like in 2 years' time. Just be patient and enjoy the ride. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back for Brentford. Put your hands together for the living legend, Supermac!